You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
Hey Ramblers! Today's episode is brought to you by Fangoria. Since 1979, Fangoria has been the authority in the world of contemporary horror. As the only sanctuary for horror aficionados in its early days, it has now grown into an empire that expands beyond its celebrated magazine. From t-shirts, coffee mugs, beanies, enamel pins, there's something for every horror fanatic in your world, even if it's you. So head on over to shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or use code pencil and paper productions at checkout to get 20% off your first order or magazine subscription. Yes, it is a mouthful, which is why there are links in the show notes down below. That's shop.fangoria.com/pencil and paper productions or code pencil and paper productions at checkout for 20% off. Fangoria, first in fright since 1979.
Try it or we'll tear your soul apart.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to the Horror Ramblings podcast, the show about all things horror. That show where those two guys that are charming, handsome, and funny talk about all things horror related and sometimes go completely out into left field and talk about other random things. Speaking of random things and all that, Steven, I have to say, I really enjoyed the last episode of Super Mega Crash Beyond. I felt a little left out, but I know you weren't just talking about Evil Dead, and we've already gushed over Bruce Campbell, but I know after listening to it, I decided to text you and be like, yes, if we ever have Bruce Campbell on the show, Lace needs to see him, and we need to correct the name mix-up. We need to fix that problem.
Yeah. I was actually a little worried after I'd posted that episode that perhaps I needed to maybe clarify the title a little bit, because I think I may have confused some people, because I got asked more than once, did you actually talk to him on your show? And I was like, no, we were just talking about him. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, shit, I did just say Bruce Campbell, so...
I wonder if that changes the listens, though, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm sure, and, that's on me. I could probably make an adjustment to the title.
There's probably one...
I don't want to mislead anyone.
There's probably one pissed off guy somewhere going, when's Bruce coming on?
Yeah. It's all just this woman just gushing about him all day. God.
Yeah. Hearing Lace talk about him, I'm like, I can hear it.
Like, if you want to ever find someone who's a true fan of someone, that's about as good as I can make a case for, is listening to her gush about Bruce Campbell. That's what a fan sounds like.
And it's funny, too, because you don't even have to be a horror movie fan to love him, because my wife loves Burn Notice, and he was Bruce Campbell was at one of the cons, but we couldn't even find his booth. Like, they had him off somewhere all alone because they knew it would be busy, and like, I don't know if you had to have like super platinum VIP or something crazy like that to even know where he was. We didn't even know where he was. Mm-hmm. And we got to talking about him, my wife and I did, and he is such a big thing to her too. Like, she loves Bruce Campbell and she loves him from Burn Notice. I was surprised she actually did watch some of Ash vs. Evil Dead with me, which anyone who has ever heard her on the show knows that horror isn't really her thing. So the fact that she even watched that with me was nothing short of a miracle. So, but sure. It's Bruce, which I had a question. I don't know if you guys might have brought this up maybe off mic. I didn't hear you talk about it on the show. Have you seen the movie My Name is Bruce?
Yes.
Okay.
We didn't talk about that though, but yeah, that's a good point. I don't know why that never got brought up.
Because I'll be honest, after listening to you guys talk, I was like, man, I would really like to talk about My Name is Bruce. But it's been a while since I've seen it, and I went to see if it was available anywhere. It's not available anywhere to stream, and I was trying to find like a copy of it, like a physical copy of it, and you can buy it like on eBay, but yeah, I couldn't find anywhere to stream it, and I don't know, you would think that someone would pick it up like Shudder or something because it's super funny. I freaking love it as a movie because he's playing himself and it really does put you in the mindset of like Evil Dead and everything with everything that's happening in it. I think anyways. With the villain and everything, but he makes himself so opposite of the character that he portrays. And I love that. And I know that a while back they had talked about it would be great to do a instead of like sort of in the same realm as the Expendables, but call it like the Slashables, and it would be a horror movie about all that. And it was funny because I can't remember, I think it was actually Bruce Campbell that talked about it. He said that he thought it would be funny to do a show like that, to do a movie or something like that, and see people being like complete opposites. Like Kane Hodder, instead of being like a badass in real life, he'd be sort of like a priss and, like a diva kind of. And then you find out that Robert Englund hits the gym all the time and he's actually like, he's some kind of, just really strong, like muscle type guy that, sort of opposites of how they are when you meet them, when they present themselves to you. And I'm like, that would be hilarious if they actually did that. But thinking of My Name is Bruce, I was like, man, I would love to watch that again, but I can't find it.
Yeah, as you're sitting here talking about it, I'm looking too, and it's not available. Like, you can find where they'll say, here it is on the platform, and you click on it, and then it says content unavailable. So, and it's several. That is insane.
Yeah, I honestly think it's going to be one of those ones that you have to buy it on eBay or something. Buy an old DVD I don't know if they've released it on Blu-ray.
Just found a Blu-ray copy, but again, out of print. I have to buy it through a secondhand seller.
And make sure that it's, actually in good shape.
That is bizarre.
Right?
I wonder why.
I wonder what studio is responsible for.
Well, the release or the
distributor.
I've heard of them before, but they seem like one of those, I don't want to make it sound terrible. RLJE, I think is what it is. I feel like they do a lot of lesser known, smaller indie titles, that kind of thing. But yeah, this is insane.
Yeah, I might actually hit up, because I think we're going to the mall this weekend. I might just go to, there's an FYE there. They might have it. They surprise me sometimes, and sometimes they have things that I didn't expect them to have. So
yeah, I mean, I would look around, because especially if you can't find it online, then there's something up, and you need to secure a copy ASAP.
Because I think is there a book by that title too? I can't, because I could have swore I saw something about a book. Maybe it's about the making of the movie.
I feel like you're right, but I'm not 100% sure what the book is. That does sound right.
Could be, but yeah, no, listening to you guys talk about it, I was like, man, like Lace is so passionate about Bruce Campbell, it made me more passionate about Bruce Campbell. So, like, I love when somebody's that big of a fan, because it really is. It's contagious. You take it in and you're like, man. So, and
I'm sure it won't be the last time we talk about Bruce in some form or fashion.
And I'm just going to say it too. And I know I've made jokes about it. I hope you guys really did take your shots, because I felt like I was there with you, because you guys mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street. And it's funny to me that that's sort of a film that you guys both tried to watch at one point and just, like, it got to you. Like,
yeah. But, it was, we were young.
Well, yeah. And I feel like everybody takes in horror stuff different. For me, it was my first film. And I didn't see the same, Nightmare on Elm Street that you guys had seen at first. I think it was a little more... Freddy was turning more into I don't want to say he was turning more into, like, the comedy guy, but he was starting to get some of his one-liners, and it wasn't as horror-focused, I don't think. So
right. Maybe
that's where it was a little different. I got introduced to the other stuff a little later. So, man. Yeah, no. Before we get into the news, I thought I would talk to you about something that's sort of news-related. The movie Baghead that released on Shudder. Long story short, I'll just sort of give you the synopsis of it. There's a girl named Iris who inherits a rundown pub after her father dies. She finds out that there is something down in part of the basement that she should avoid. It is the Baghead. It's some kind of witch, some kind of creature. It basically has to listen to her to a degree because she's the owner. But this thing has the ability to basically, you give it an item that belonged to somebody that died, and it allows you to communicate with them. It actually transforms into them, and you remove the bag and you talk, and you're only supposed to talk to it for, I think it's really similar to the rules that were in the movie Talk to Me. It's only like, I think in Talk to Me it was like 60 seconds or 2 minutes or something. It's 2 minutes, I believe, in this movie. I was looking on Shudder at the reviews of it. Really solid reviews. Apparently it's really good, and I haven't watched it yet. This week's been a little hectic, so I haven't had the chance to really sit down and watch things. But I have seen clips from it, and the effects are really cool. There's some twists in it that are really cool, and I think the creature in it's actually pretty damn cool. Like, it's an interesting concept, so something that I think I'm gonna check out. I think the first thing I'm going to watch on Shudder when it becomes available, though, is Late Night with the Devil. I am ready for that to hit Shudder. I think it's supposed to hit Shudder the 16th or the 19th, I think it was.
Yeah, the 19th. So,
and I actually,
it'll be out by the time this is.
You know what's funny too? That the one thing that I heard, like the one negative thing that I sort of heard about it, was the fact that it was released in the theater and not available at home sooner, because people said that a lot of the things that happen in it would be a little bit more what's the word I'm looking for? It would mean a lot more to the audience if they were sitting at home watching it, because it would feel more personal. And this movie does feel very personal, and it reminds you a lot of real late night shows. And they said that with having your TV at home and sitting there at home watching it in the dark, that whole aesthetic just adds to the creep factor of it. That's the only negative thing that I've heard. People were like, being in the theater actually took me out of it just a little bit. So yeah, I think it's going to be good, and I like the cast. I've been seeing more clips of Abigail too, and I was on the fence about it at first, but seeing there's a trailer that I've been seeing circulating around where she's like, they've got her locked in a cage and she's got blood all over her mouth, and she's like crying, and she's like, please let me out, I'm scared. And one of the women says to her, you're really good at pretending to be a little girl. And she changes in a snap, and she smiles, and she just goes, thank you. And they make a comment about her being in the cage, and then it shows other clips of her like breaking out and fighting them, and they're talking about, well, what's a vampire's weaknesses? What do we have? And there's a scene where she rips a crucifix off of somebody and she's stabbing a guy with it. And I'm like, well, that one might not work. But then she says the line, I love playing with my food. And just the way that the kid says that, I don't know I don't know the young actress's name that's playing her, but I'll give her props. From what I've seen so far, she's going to do good. And some of the reviews I've seen, sounds like it's solid. So
yeah, I read one this morning and was happy to hear that. Pretty much what they said. It was just an all-around fun time. And gorehounds will love it.
And one of the actors that's in it, I actually really like him. He's actually in the TV series The Strain, which I know I've talked about a lot. It's another show about vampires, and it's a different take on vampires. It's about a certain species of vampire called the Strigoi, and the Strigoi are not the vampires that you think they are. They are really disgusting. It is something that I would love to talk about on the show at some point. I can tell you right now, it's probably one of those shows that you'll have to watch by yourself, because I know Trina will be turned off by it because of who one of the main characters is. It's the it's the actor that played Argus Filch in Harry Potter, the janitor guy. He's also in Game of Thrones, the Red Wedding, I believe it is. He's the leader of that family and kills all of them. So I know I've talked about it, and Trina's said that to me before. She's like, I don't like him. And he's I get it. Some people are so good at playing bad characters that you can't see them as anything else. So I definitely understand that, but he's really good in it. I like him in it. They look at vampires from a scientific standpoint. There's the mythological stuff in there, but then there is the scientific side of things. They talk about why they can't be seen in mirrors, but it's not every mirror. It's silver mirrors, and they talk about how it's because silver used to be something that you could use to fight off certain viruses, certain diseases, things like that. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. They even get into certain viruses are vulnerable to UV rays, so sunlight. And let's just put it this way. It's about a vampire overlord who breaks away from the others because he wants to basically turn the world into a huge concentration camp because he was around when the Nazis were around, and that's where he got his ideas from. So definitely an interesting show, and I've never hated a kid in a TV show as much as, like, there's two kids that I hate. I hate Joffrey from Game of Thrones, and I cannot even think of his name, but I hate the kid from The Strain because he's just an asshole. Let's put it this way. He kind of falls in line with the vampires. This won't really ruin a whole lot for you. He kind of falls in line with the vampires for a certain reason, and he has a vampire sort of as like a pet, and there's a girl that he likes, and when she turns him down, he makes the vampire turn her, and then he keeps her as his sick little twisted plaything. Kid's a dickhead, and it doesn't have the happiest of endings. I will say that too. I appreciate that they didn't give it the happiest of ending, and it's based off of a book, but it's got a lot of familiar faces in it. I can't think of the actor's name, but the guy that plays the hunter in the original Jumanji, great actor. I love the guy to death. He is one of the main characters in the show. He's a wealthy, rich guy that's dying, and he's actually trying to make a deal with the vampires because he wants to be healthy again. So definitely a lot going on it, but yeah, Abigail kind of puts me in the same vein as that, and the fact that one of the guys that's from The Strain is also in Abigail, to me it's like, oh well, maybe after the events of The Strain he just went off and decided to mess with other vampires. Of course, he seems like he's more badass in The Strain than he is from what I've seen in the trailers. I'm pretty sure he's the guy that gets the crucifix ripped off of him and gets jabbed with it quite a bit. So, and the teeth. I'm so glad they're getting away from just the fangs. Don't get me wrong, I like vampire fangs, but when you see that whole mouthful of jagged teeth, you're just like, okay.
Yeah. There's a lot more viciousness to it.
And I don't know if you've seen the one trailer, but she's like, she's dancing. She's doing her ballerina dancing while she's chasing someone down the hall in one of the trailers. And she's just, it adds to it. When the villain is being kind of comical about it, you know that they're just doing it because they know you're not going to get away. They know that you're not going to stop them. So there's just this foreboding thing about her, and I love it. So, but do you have any news? I'm sorry, I'm just kind of all over the place here.
No. I was looking over trying to see if I could find some interesting news worth talking about. This one, it raises some questions and also is disappointing just all the same. Granted, I'm sure we've talked about this on the show before, where there was a Friday the 13th game that came out, very, I think popular. I think it was very accurate to what you'd kind of want from this type of game, outside of maybe that asymmetrical nonsense, which, again, I understand, makes for fun gameplay, 1 against 7 or whatever the numbers were. But obviously because of the lawsuit controversy, all that, who owns what nonsense, the game pretty much got shelved because of it. And if I'm not mistaken, at the end of this year, it's no longer going to be playable. That's what I hear, which I think is absolute bullshit. So, because of that, there is a group of developers out in the world trying to keep it alive. So they have been modding this version called Friday the 13th Resurrection, and then adding to that would be the complete edition, where they added in all the stuff that I guess they were planning on putting into the game. But no. Horror Inc. has apparently sent a cease and desist letter shutting this down. Now, obviously, legal reasons, I get it, but there is game preservation. I think it's a thing that we really need to understand, is that this is a game that if it shuts down, no one will ever be able to play again, ever. And there are plenty of games out there in the world that have gone down this road, and this is one that I don't think needs to go down that road. This needs to be preserved because what they did. And There is a rumor saying that since this story came out and they were sending out a cease and desist, I guess there was some verbiage in the cease and desist that maybe hints toward a comment that the composer of the films, Harry Manfredini, had said sometime last year that there's another game on the horizon, but I don't know. Yeah. So I'm just a little disappointed that we can't let people just mod shit. I don't think that they were trying to do anything, because 9 times out of 10, the modders are so much better than the programmers. Yeah. They probably have more time. They probably have more resources versus what the studios give them. And they don't ask for anything. They just mod these things and give them away for free.
And see, maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe they just don't want it to still exist unless they're getting paid for it.
That wouldn't surprise me.
You know what the modders should do? They should use the original game as their foundation and just change it up enough. Instead of Jason Voorhees, we've got Mason Marquise, and Mason Marquise works at Camp Wumbo, and Camp Wumbo is just a terrible place, and he can go around killing people with a garden hoe. There we go. Mm-hmm. Change it up just enough. They can't sue you if you change it up enough. You can parody it, and
kind of go back to the original concept, because that was the whole purpose of the original concept of the game. Was a game that was paying homage to Friday the 13th, but they didn't have the license, so they were just like, well, let's just do this, and then they lucked out and got the license. They're like, all right, awesome, we can do this thing now.
And see, that's the thing that scares me about all these type of games. This happened with Friday the 13th. Then we've got the Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game. I know another studio is now like responsible for the upkeep on it and everything, which is fine. Like, they've got more time to do it, they can do everything. But like, you just hope that nothing happens to, because didn't something similar happen with the Evil Dead game that came out? I feel like something sort of similar, but not exactly. Because hasn't that game like come to an end?
It may have. I don't recall. I know that they haven't been announcing a lot of extra content, and it could have very well been that, because it ran like such a short time. Like, when it came out, it was just like, hey, here's this, and then suddenly it was just like, well, we're done putting content out for it. And it's like, really? Yeah. You just got started. So it was perhaps because it wasn't making the bank that they were hoping for, which is very common with game studios. If they're not seeing the profits that they want, they'll can something real quick.
And see, like, that's my thing. Like, make a good single player game, but add the ability to do multiplayer, because really successful games that I've seen over the years, that's been what it's been about. Like, as weird as it sounds, it took forever for the original Red Dead Redemption to shut down its servers for its online mode. I mean, it took a long ass time. But you had, a solid game to play, and then you could switch over to online, and they were always adding new stuff. There was always something to do. Even if you were just exploring and wandering around and doing things like that, man, that would have been cool. A big open world Evil Dead game I could get behind. But, it's just, I don't know. I always get leery of games like this now for this reason. I think Friday the 13th sort of put a sour taste in my mouth. And, I'll be honest, I like Dead by Daylight. I do. But I feel like, and I know you're doing the same, every time you play Friday the 13th, you're doing the same exact thing. You're playing as, a survivor, or you're playing as Jason. And you're doing the same exact thing. You're either trying to escape or you're trying to kill everybody. Sort of the same thing with Dead by Daylight. But I also feel like Dead by Daylight is even more repetitive, because, if you're the killer, you go and you jab the people. You have to hit them a few times, and then you put them on a hook. Like, that's it. There's no just, it does get to the point where you can just kill people. But I wish they would kind of restructure that game, because they have a bunch of different slashers. They have a bunch of different killers now. And, I think they have everybody except for Jason, pretty much. They even have, I think they even have Leatherface. I think they have him as the cannibal on there.
They do.
They have him, they have Michael Myers, they have Ghostface, they have Freddy. It's not the best version of Freddy, but they have Freddy. They need to get the rights and use the Robert Englund version of Freddy. Just saying, just putting that out there.
Which really shows that I think he has a lock on his likeness and his version of Freddy, because every time it has been a Freddy in a game, it's been this WB knockoff that's like, okay.
I think he probably had some really good negotiations for it, which is
And fair.
which you know, it's not horror related, but it's just like when Robin Williams died, he said he didn't want his likeness used in any other form for like X amount of years after he died. Like, I think he knew that things were gonna, you know, change a little bit, and now they can put actors into AI form and you know, bring people back from the dead in a sense. It's scary. I'll even say this: I was listening to Will Sasso has a podcast that he goes on all the time, and they were listening to this bit. There's a video of it too, but they were listening to this bit, and this guy uploaded all of George Carlin's stand-up into this AI system. And this AI system, it sounded like George Carlin, and it did a whole bit about being the AI form of George Carlin and talking about AI replacing humans. And I'm a big George Carlin fan. I'm going to tell you something. Sitting there listening to it, yeah, it put me right back to it, like I was watching one of his specials, and that's frightening. So anybody that can protect their likeness, it's just like when we talked to Ken. You know, Ken said that he's glad that he owns the rights to the project that he's working on, to Socrates, because if he didn't, they could have something in that contract to use his voice for whatever they want to use it for, which is terrifying. But yeah, I mean, Robert Englund, he owns his likeness. I know he doesn't own the character of Freddy, but if you look at when things happen that use his version of Freddy, his name's normally on there somewhere. He's involved with it to some degree. So
Sure.
I would love to know what kind of deal they made. You know, the only other deal I've ever seen that was really good like that was Jack Nicholson probably made one of the best deals in Hollywood history when he played the Joker, because he took a lot less money up front, but he told them that anytime his likeness was used as the Joker, he wanted a piece of the profit. And I don't know about you, but I know a lot of Joker stuff sold.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. One more Jack Nicholson horror movie. Guy's 80.
I'd be down
Guy's
for that.
86. I don't know if that's going to happen, but
Well, we can hope.
I mean, he still looks good. Still seems like he gets around pretty well.
Sure, yeah.
Speaking of celebrities, have you seen the stuff about Gene Hackman being out in public?
I haven't, but I feel like, now that you mention it, there was something about him recently that maybe I saw, because, I mean, he's been retired for some time now, and I guess I hadn't really thought about it, but I was like, yeah, he has been.
I saw an article, and it kind of like, it makes me think of the media as just slime balls. He wore this one outfit the first day that they had spotted him. Then they spotted him a few days later, and he was in an outfit that looked pretty similar. So instead of posting the article and saying retired actor Gene Hackman spotted again, it was Gene Hackman spotted again an outfit that looks exactly like the last one he wore. Like, what are you implying? Like, he's 94 years old. If he wants to wear the same outfit, he can wear the same outfit. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, and I think, who knows, maybe he's one of those people that's just like, I don't want to think about what I'm wearing, so I just have, like, the same outfit. I don't want to think about it because it doesn't matter. Fuck it.
But I mean, 94 still kicking, so
yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but here I am getting all over the place. Do you have any other horror news? I don't want to stray too far off here because my brain's all over the place.
I think we had some small little announcements. I know there was a trailer you sent me that I had seen, a shark thriller under Paris. I want to be excited for it because it seems unique, but I've noticed throughout the trailer I just kept seeing the typical shark movie shots. Yeah. You know what I mean? The same action beats over and over and over that you see in these movies, and it's like, I don't know. It didn't seem like it was going to be a bad movie, but at the same time, I didn't see it wowing me either. So.
Yeah, the only reason I really sent it over to you was because they made the comparison to Jaws. And I hate to be this guy, but anybody that's making a shark movie, Just stop. You don't have to compare it to Jaws. It doesn't have to be Jaws. If you're going to try to make your movie like Jaws, you're probably going to fail because nothing will ever build the suspense like the original Jaws film did. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth. Even if Spielberg himself remade Jaws, it would not be as good as the original. And I firmly believe that. That is why I love movies like Deep Blue Sea. That's a movie that gets shit on. I don't care what anybody says, though. That's a good shark movie, and it's an interesting concept. They're making the sharks smarter, and shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
It's a good movie. I don't care what anybody says. Is it as good as Jaws? No. But you know what? It's good in a different way.
It tried to do something different and fun and unique, and I give it a lot of credit.
Yeah. You know, it's just like another movie that gets shit on, and here I go talking about this. Arachnophobia. To me, there will never be another movie quite like Arachnophobia. But are there other movies about spiders that are good? Yes. You know, stop trying to make it like the original. Stop trying to... I get paying tribute to films that came before, but don't ruin your film by trying to make it like someone else's. So much.
No.
It's just, it kills me. You know, I was just having a conversation. I wish you could have been included in this conversation. I was having a conversation about Godzilla the other day, and one of the conversation pieces was about how Godzilla has still remained relevant after all this time. And you can watch all of the Godzilla films, and you're always going to get something slightly different. Because yes, Godzilla is the constant, but they are constantly changing things up, and they're not just trying to do the same story over and over again. Yes, Godzilla's fighting giant monsters in a lot of the films, but you know what? There's always monsters with different powers. There's always different things going on. Then we get things like -1. We get things like Shin Godzilla. There's always something. They're always changing it up just enough to where, yes, we still have Godzilla as our constant, but it's just different enough to where you're not getting bored. They're paying tribute to Godzilla by having Godzilla there, but they are keeping the story moving. They're making it, different, adapting things, changing. And I really thought about that, and that's why Godzilla, I think, has been as prominent and as popular. And I even read an article the other day. Godzilla's probably one of the most versatile characters that you could have. And I really believe that. So
I would agree, 100%.
And I saw something the other day. This is completely random. I saw a picture the other day. I don't know if I sent it to you. It was from Jurassic World. I think it's Dominion, when the volcano's erupting on the island and that brontosaurus or whatever is left behind. And, everybody's like, oh, man, that's so sad. I saw this. It was a picture. It was like your view, and it showed like all the sadness. And then it was like the other view that you didn't see. And it shows Godzilla's dorsal fins coming up. And Godzilla's like, he pops up and he's like, hop on, buddy. And the brontosaurus hops on his back. Like, I'm going to pretend that's what really happened.
I mean, I'm down for
but
that.
But no, like, I don't know. I honestly think a lot of it's because of the conversations that you and I have had. I've always liked Godzilla, but with the conversations that we've had, I've been finding myself more drawn to Godzilla, and I've been finding more of the movies are available to watch. Like, you can get on Pluto TV and look up just about any Godzilla movie and find them. I really want to see him fight Destroya. I want to see that happen over here. I don't think necessarily that's what's going to happen. A lot of people...
No.
Go ahead.
No. And Adam Wingard has said that's what he wants to do for his next entry. Or at least channel something to that effect.
Now, see, I've been hearing rumors that they might want to bring in Space Godzilla.
If they can make it interesting enough, I would be down to see that, but I don't know how you could do that right now.
Yeah. And I will say this. I hope if they bring in Destroya, I hope if they bring him in and they do, CGI and everything for him, I kind of hope they stick to the original design as much as they can, because he's badass looking.
I think it's a good design. I don't think it needs to change.
Now, when he... Because Destroya did defeat Godzilla.
No, not technically.
Well, sort of, kind of. Like, he was the closest, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was... Like, Godzilla went into full-on, I'm going to obliterate you.
Like, he was meltdown mode, right? Godzilla was?
Yeah, but it was essentially killing Destroya killed himself.
Well, that's what I mean. So
because he could not, he couldn't contain the heat that he was already radiating, and once he reached a certain temperature, he just melted.
So
down.
Destroya was the Titan that caused Godzilla's death. He didn't kill him per se.
I mean,
because Godzilla was reborn, sort of, kind of in a way, right? Or did Godzilla have? Because Godzilla had a child, didn't he?
Oh yeah. Now in those Heisei era films, there was a baby Godzilla that shows up, and then we see him first in Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, and then he appears again in Space Godzilla, and then in Destroya, you hear that the island that Godzilla and the baby were inhabiting blew up.
Yeah.
And I felt like they were very vague about it in some of the details, at least in the American dub. Maybe the Japanese version of the film would clarify it a little bit more. So as I understand it, it's like something happened, the island blew up, and Godzilla absorbed all the radiation coming out of it, as did the baby. The baby came out relatively unscathed, just kind of grown up. Godzilla, on the other hand, it's like he's overcharged. Like, so he's on the verge of meltdown, and that's what they're trying to stop throughout the entire movie. Then here comes Destroy, and it's like, well, goddamn it, now we got to deal with this thing. So we can't cool him down, but we've got to deal with this, or everyone's going to die, so what do? And they essentially get into a point where, like, Godzilla kill Destroya, and then we'll just try to contain this explosion as best we can. And then once they did, of course, there's radiation everywhere in the sky, but at least it didn't destroy the Earth. And then the baby absorbed all that, and kind of Godzilla reborn.
So the original Godzilla died fighting Destroya, and then his baby basically is the reborn version of him, in a sense.
Yes, but whether or not we have technically seen that version since, it's up for debate, because how they do things. Now, I will say that maybe that version, I guess the third generation Godzilla at this point, because you would have the original, then the one that melted down would technically be version number 2, and then here's version number 3. So I think some of the shorts that they've been putting out here recently, where it's like Godzilla versus Hedorah and Jet Jaguar and Gigan, I think is what it was. Like all those shorts, as I've heard rumor that that's supposed to be like the continuing adventures of that Godzilla.
Okay.
So unless I'm misunderstood, and someone can correct me if they want to, but I think that's how I understood.
I got you. Yeah, like I said, I've seen enough like clips and things of Destroya and Godzilla, because I always thought Destroya was a cool looking villain in the Godzilla realm, and so I was curious as to, you know, how Godzilla would meet his end, I suppose, at the hands of Destroya. But I do remember that was like the meltdown Godzilla, like he was about to blow and everything. So I don't know. I hope the American versions that they're doing over here, I hope that they, you know, Kong kind of got his happy ending already. I hope they sort of do something for Godzilla, you know. I don't think Godzilla and Mothra can have a kid together. That'd be the end goal, that they'd live happily ever after. But
I mean, they can try if they want, but I don't know what it's gonna come out looking like.
Big Godzilla with wings and
moth
oh
face.
god,
It'd be an atrocious little mess.
what the hell is that thing?
But as you know, there's probably some artist out there who's already concocted this design.
Probably so.
And it's like, all right. And it looks so good, too, and you can't argue with it. It's like, all right.
And I do like the jokes that have been going around since Kong, with this latest Godzilla Kong movie. Doug stole King Kong's food really easy, and they're like, apparently Doug's a lot stronger than you guys think. Doug's gonna be the real baddie. They're gonna show him absorbing a bunch of radiation, and he's just gonna be huge and some kind of monstrous thing that they all have to take down.
Yeah.
There's the end goal, people. Oh man, okay. I'm sorry for all the random Godzilla talk. I know you don't mind talking about Godzilla, so.
Well, while we're on the subject, there was an announcement this week that the MonsterVerse is going to be expanding.
Oh yeah?
A little bit more. So, Legacy of Monsters, which is that Monarch series on Apple, did get a Season 2 renewal. And apparently some spin-offs are coming. What they are, I don't know. But they did announce that they're going to look at doing other spin-off shows in relation to that. And I'm assuming they're all going to be on Apple TV because I think that was the deal that was struck. So my hope for this would be exploring other Titans, perhaps. Like Monarch series, it really kind of focused on Godzilla, but then we kind of explored the Hollow Earth idea, concept, and things like that, which I enjoyed. And then it seems like they're going to take on Kong for season 2, or at least that's what seems to be promised at this point, which I'm okay with. I would like to know some missing details from certain time periods that we haven't seen. But if you're going to continue to expand on this, let's look at new corners. Let's look at different Titans and different things, and really expand upon this. So
yeah, I know a lot of people wanted to see a movie or even just a series about Mothra, because a lot of people have really like become fans of Mothra here. I mean, I know there's always been fans, but I feel like here more recently it's exploded.
No, I understand that. Yeah.
So I gotta admit, I haven't watched the Monterey.
It's like, I won't say it was, oh my God, groundbreaking, but it posed some concepts that I feel like the movie is getting a little wishy-washy with. However, in saying that, I guess it could be explained depending on how you get to Hollow Earth, how traversal has changed from that show to the movies. I understand that there's a lot of things that could change, but it feels like a very important detail to be altering. And so the rule applies over here on the show, but it doesn't apply over here on the movies. So which is it? Explains a lot when you see it, like as far as Godzilla is concerned, but it just also raises more questions. It was like, so why is this not happening? I don't know. I'm hoping they clarify that come season 2, because it's a very big rule to be wishy-washy with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You concocted an entire story around this one little rule. So, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was confirmed, and it looks like they're going back to the Jim Henson shop. So, more good animatronics at least.
I hope they rate it R this time.
That would be the smart thing, but something tells me they're going to teeter on that PG-13 line as long as
they have to think a lot of the fans of Five Nights at Freddy's are probably old enough now to watch R-rated movies, I would think.
Yeah, you would think. There was another one. Where did it go? Oh, well, we haven't even talked about the trailer for Maxine that came out. Did you get a chance to watch it?
I haven't. I've been slacking.
It's okay. I think it's selling the hell out of it. I didn't really feel like it needed to sell me. I was already kind of eager to check it out because of X and Pearl. And, I mean, you see that she's maybe possibly finally made her stardom happen in maybe porno, but then I guess maybe she's trying to break out into the mainstream, and then now there's another killer thing happening, and then of course you see, I mean, the moment you see Kevin Bacon, it's like, all right, and then you see Giancarlo Esposito, and it's like, all right, I mean, you're stepping up your actor game here. So not to say that she's not worthy or anything, it's just I'm surprised to see these names attached to this project. Yeah. If you understand why, but no, I'm glad to see them. So. I'm excited to check it out when it comes out, and I think that might be everything. Unless you want to talk about the Scary Movie sequel that's coming.
No, I heard they were rebooting it completely.
Either way.
I'll admit, those movies are a guilty pleasure of mine. I do enjoy them for what they are. To me, the first two have a lot of laughs. They have a decent cast in them, but then it just started to take a turn, and I understand why it ended. I do hope that they bring back the original girl. I can't think of her name.
Anna Faris.
Thank you. I hope that they bring her back, even if it's just a cameo in it, and it would be funny for her to just be like, I feel like I've been here, or say something about deja vu, but really just fuck it up and say that it's something completely different.
I think that those movies, granted, I will admit to you, like, I agree, 1 and 2, when the Wayans were involved, like, they knew what they were trying to do. I'd say that some of the humor may be a little bit, I don't want to sound like a prude, But, just some things are not that funny to me.
No, and I get that.
I get why some people would find certain things funny. There was just certain jokes there. It's like, I don't see the humor in that, but whatever. And then, of course, like you said, the following sequels, 3, 4, and 5, I want to talk about that for a minute, because take a look at the entire spin-off of genre movies just like this that they did. Not Another Teen Movie, superhero movie, Meet the Spartans, all these movies that are all the same thing. And I stopped watching it, like any of them. And I think it was Meet the Spartans that did it. That just like broke me. I was like, I'm not going to watch this shit anymore.
Yeah.
Because there was literally like a 10-minute scene going through joke after joke after joke, trying to kick people down into the pit. And it was like, how long are we going to sit on this joke and just bring in other random people to kick down this fucking pit that has no bearing to whatever story you may or may not have here? It was such nonsense that it was like, what am I watching? This is not a movie. This should be like clips on YouTube or some shit.
I'll even go as far as to say that the third Scary Movie is all right. Not the whole movie overall, but I believe that's the one with Charlie Sheen in it, right?
I believe so, yes.
Because we also get Leslie Nielsen as the president, and every single bit he's in is, as far as I'm concerned, is funny. Every bit that he's in. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a Leslie Nielsen fan, but, I find every scene of that funny. And I think the third one is, hang on. I got to look it up here real quick just to verify what I'm thinking. Scary Movie 3. Okay, this is the one that I thought it was, where it's the parody of The Ring and the aliens are invading the Earth.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to think of. Whoever they had playing the girl from The Ring, she did great in her part, I think. I'm a fan of slapstick comedy, so the little boy that kept getting hurt in it, I kind of had some laughs about that. There's even a scene in it where she's talking about her, when he was born, she had to cut his umbilical cord and she accidentally cut his wiener, and when they sewed it back on, they sewed it upside down. And he's like, is that why I pee up? It's stupid, but just the way that they present it, I really think that, you said Anna Faris, right?
Yeah.
I think the way that she does her comedy in it, the reason that I find her kind of funny is because the type of act that she does reminds me of Leslie Nielsen. They call it the straight guy in the comedy world. They are just dead serious through everything. And I think that she really did that a lot too. So I'll even say that there are some things about the third movie that you could enjoy. You could think were funny. But I understand what you mean about all of the movies that stemmed from these too. It was like, as soon as the parody thing happened, everyone was like, oh, we got to do parodies of everything. We got a lot of shitty movies because of that.
And they weren't funny. None of them were funny. And what I find most disappointing about it, and I hope I don't break your brain or make you start to hate certain movies, because this bothered me when I learned this shit, okay? Because I've always had the guys who did The Naked Gun and Airplane, I can't remember their names right off the top of my head, Abrams and... they're brothers, and I can't remember their fucking names. Zucker brothers, and Jim Abrams. That's who it is. So the Zucker brothers, again, did Airplane. They did Kentucky Fried Movie. They did The Naked Gun. Funny movies, right? I mean, you're just sitting there thinking, yeah, these are classics. Well, when I found out that they were responsible for Scary Movie 3, 4, and 5, or at least involved in some way, and I didn't find them to be all that funny, I was like, well, that's disappointing. I was like, what happened to these guys? And I started looking through some of their other filmographies, and they were also part of some of these other parody movies. And I was like, so what the fuck? I said, when did they just not be funny anymore? And I just thought maybe they lost their touch. Didn't know, just wrote it off, right? Watched like a deep dive, not really documentary, but like a history lesson, kind of digging into a rumor. And man, oh man, this guy made a case that these guys were nothing more than rip-off artists, where he would show a joke that was in one of the Naked Gun movies or something like that, or Airplane. Well, let me just start with The Naked Gun. Showed a clip from one of the Naked Gun movies and said, here's the joke that was there. Then you rewind to a movie that was made 10 years ago. Same joke, essentially, just kind of reworded. And it's like, oh, that's it. Okay, well, little things like that, sure.
Yeah.
The entire movie of Airplane is literally another movie. There is another movie out there that is beat for beat the same as Airplane, just with jokes inserted. That's what Airplane is. It's that movie just with jokes. Yeah. And I was like, holy shit. And I'm talking scene for scene, line for line, almost identical. And it's just like, so these guys did nothing but rip their shit off. And just it disappointed me because I was like, well, now I'm going to look at The Naked Gun a little bit different now. Yeah. And I'm going to look at Airplane a little bit different now because I thought these were works of pure artistic genius and they just ripped shit off.
Wow. I'm gonna pretend that I didn't hear that. I would rather live in denial. I think.
I know it kills me because I was like, son of a bitch, man.
Yeah, and I love Leslie Nielsen. So anything that I've ever seen him in, I've loved him in. Even Dracula Dead and Loving It is one of my favorite movies. And a lot of people are like, that's like the worst movie he was ever in. I'm like, no, it wasn't.
I think his strength, especially in the original Naked Gun, because like I don't hate 2 and 3 or anything like that. Like I can see a shift in the comedy.
Yeah.
It's like he went from being serious 100% to being a little wackier or goofball-y.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that was always the strength of his character, like in Airplane and even in the first Naked Gun movie, is he played everything so straight, like absolutely 100% straight. So the humor came from that. And just some of my favorite lines come from that. It's just, I wonder what it could be his motive. Sex, Frank? Not right now, but, we'll see maybe later. It's just like, what? No, that's not what he's talking about. So, I don't know. It's just little things like that.
Now, he also, Leslie Nielsen was in Creep Show. A lot of people forget that. Mm-hmm. And I cannot think of the other movie. I would put it in the...
Prom Night.
What is it? Prom Night. But there's
as far as
there's one other movie. I would actually classify it more in the horror movie category. I think it's called like Animals or something like that.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
he's in that, and I think that's before his hair turned white. So.
Oh yeah.
He's also there's a movie that's a parody too called Stan Helsing. You want to talk about a movie that's just he plays a waitress in it. And he kisses the other guy. He kisses Stan Helsing on the lips in one part of it. And I think he slaps him or something. But I watched this whole movie because Leslie Nielsen was in it, and Leslie Nielsen's not even in the whole movie. But that's just how I am. I like watching that stuff. But no, the scary movie thing, I don't know. If they look like they might be entertaining, I might give them a watch. I know they're doing another Naked Gun. They're going to remake Naked Gun, and Liam Neeson's going to play Leslie Nielsen's part. And I am all for that. I actually have to tell you something kind of funny about that. So I told my dad about that. I was like, they're remaking Naked Gun. And he's like, what? I said, yeah, they're remaking it. And he said, really? I said, yeah, guess who's going to play Leslie Nielsen's part? And he was thinking for a minute. And he named, I can't remember who he named, but he named some like younger actor. And I was like, nope. I said, Liam Neeson's going to play him. And my dad just kind of thought for a minute. He's like, that could be interesting. And I was like, have you ever seen him in a comedy movie being serious? And he was like, I don't think I have. I said, I got a clip for you. So I got on my phone and I looked up one of my favorite bits. It's in the movie Ted when he comes in to buy the tricks. And I'm sitting there and my dad doesn't say anything. He just has this look on his face. And he looks up at me and he goes, he's going to nail it in Naked Gun. And that's all he said.
If he plays it like that, it'll be so fucking hilarious.
Like I want to see him be like how he was in Taken, but in Naked Gun. Yeah. Like that would just be, and it would be even better if they had a like a little parody bit where he says the same thing. I have a very specific set of skills. I will find you and I will kill you. And then he like looks at the phone and goes, sorry, wrong number. Something stupid like that. I would love that. But
who is this? Oh, sorry.
But no, like I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. And if they want to remake the Scary Movie franchise, by all means, have at it. There's plenty of movies that they can, parody these days. Just make sure that it's actually funny, and please don't make this be the birth of a bunch of new parody films that are going to be terrible because there's some terrible ones out there. What was the one? Epic Movie, I think, is the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
The Chronicles of Narnia, I think they do a parody of part of that in it, and I can't think of her name. The Stifler's mom.
Oh, what's her name? Jennifer something
Is it
or other. She
Coolidge?
talks like the Coolidge. Yes, that's right. Jennifer Coolidge. That's her name. That's my name.
Wow. It's like the 4th of July.
Wow. Oh, dear.
Love her to death. She's actually really funny, and she seems like she's a very nice lady. But
She is.
just, I feel like there was a point in time where she was like, how much is the paycheck?
I'll do it. Whatever you need.
I gotta do what? Okay. Bad impressions by me all day long. They're completely free.
Hey, we're both... I'm not nailing it all that well.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
we have spent quite a bit of time rambling about stuff. Let's do a quick walkthrough here because you got to watch it. I haven't gotten to watch it. What did you think of Lisa Frankenstein?
I went in with some, I don't want to say low expectations. I don't want to say high expectations either. Because on one hand, I was interested that this was Zelda Williams' directorial debut. So I was like, all right, well, let's see what she can do. Diablo Cody is one of those names that I don't look at her movies and like, oh my God. I remember there was some fire behind her name at one point, and then it just kind of sizzled out. So I never thought that she was a bad writer. That I think maybe her movies did not speak to me specifically. So I get that maybe I just don't have an interest in it. But seeing as how it was Frankenstein, or the concept anyway, I was like, all right, well, I'm eager to see what it is, because even the cast, I mean, you got some outside of Catherine Newton and that I can never remember his fucking name. He's one of those Sprouse kids.
There's Cole Sprouse, and I can't think of the other one's name.
Cole. That's who it was. Cole. Like, those were really the two main characters or the two main actors that you follow. I honestly did not know anybody else except for the lovely, lovely, lovely Carla Gugino. Man, she's just... That son of a bitch she's married to, Mike Flanagan, you lucky son of a bitch, you. Anyway, if I haven't made it clear, I think she's my big crush. Because my God, man, my God, she has never not been hot.
I'm trying to place her. I'm gonna look her up real quick. It's Mike Flanagan's wife.
Yeah, you know her. You know her there's never been a time in her life that she has not been absolutely gorgeous.
What's her name one more time?
Carla Gugino. Gugino.
Is it?
She was in The Haunting of Hill House and Bly Manor, and that one Stephen King movie that I don't like because she degloved herself. And shit.
That's all you had to tell me. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Is she not?
She has never not been hot. You are correct.
I mean,
there's
damn.
another actress that looks kind of like her that I'm trying to place. There's another actress that looks just like her.
Yeah, I don't know. I point being, yeah, she's in it, and I was like a welcome, because I don't think I knew she was in it. I don't remember seeing her in any of the trailers, or maybe I just forgot. And then when I saw her name pop up, I was like, oh, okay, awesome, great, I'm on board. So the movie, how to describe it? It's definitely a horror love story in the most basic sense. Lisa she's the outcast. She's the person that nobody wants to be around. She had a traumatic event that happened in her life, and that is the death of her mother, was killed by some random lunatic, broke into the house. And so now she is living with her dad, who has been remarried to Carla Gugino, which that right there will blow your fucking mind. When you see her dad and then her, and they're just like, how the fuck did the two of you get together? I'm so confused. And it's not just because she's hot and he's a square. I'm just going to keep it as simple as that. It's the fact that even their personalities don't mesh. It was like, what happened? How did this happen? You know, just very weird. But she also has a stepsister now. And her stepsister is, I mean, she seems like she's on her side for the most part. Like, she wants to help her out. Because everybody has this, every time they talk to Lisa or talk about her, it's always like, oh, look at her, there's the freak, she's the weird one. So they really kind of drive that home, that she's an outcast, that she doesn't want to be around everybody. Everybody else doesn't really seem to want to be around her. I think even in the very first party she goes to, like, it was kind of one of those, oh, I guess I'll go, whatever. And she gets roofied almost immediately upon getting there because she's trying to be with the crowd. And then, of course, the crowd is just a bunch of dicks. And even the trip to the party, you start to understand some of her little oddities. Like, one of her things that she likes to do, and this is obviously something that kind of pulls into the plot, is she likes to spend her time in a cemetery. And there's the one grave of this one guy, and she just thinks he's fascinating. And she talks about this to her sister, and she's like, that's a little weird. But you see like during that conversation with her and her sister and that trip, you can see their personalities coming through. You see that Lisa is the oddball, and then her sister's like oh my God, I'm the cheerleader. I'm, so popular, and oh my God. But again, she's never mean to Lisa, which I appreciate, because they could have easily just made her like the evil stepsister or whatever. Yeah. Because Carla Gugino, despite her immense beauty, she had to be the evil stepmother, which it works. There's a reason I'll let it pass. It works. And essentially, maybe I blanked on this because it seemed like there was a point where Lisa kind of made a wish or something of that nature, and then the guy that she's been hanging out with in the graveyard, or at least his grave, he comes to life and seeks her out. And she's like freaking out. It's like, oh my God. And the reason I feel like I spaced out is because I don't remember that conversation. But then there is that conversation she has with him. It's like, no. I didn't mean I wished to be with you like this. I meant I wish to be with you like dead. This is completely misunderstood. So you have that interaction. Him being there, they only refer to him as the creature. They never give him a name, which I respect. That's more in line with the Frankenstein-esque element to it. You start to see, like, when he comes into the house trying to talk to her, he's nothing but like a big grotesque, corpse, and she's freaking the fuck out. Destroys the house, right? And after that happens, then you start to see a pattern with the stepmother. It's like, oh, look at Lisa. Look what she's done to our house. It's like, what happened? She's like, well, someone broke in and tried to attack me. And it's like, oh, no, you're just being dramatic. You're trying to, make yourself seem like the victim, but you're the one doing this. You're acting out. So you see that she's always being vilified. No matter what she does, no matter what happens, she's always going to be the bad guy. Once she gets with the creature and starts to get to know him and starts to try and have a relationship of sorts with him, she starts to develop a bit of a personality, a little bit different, a little bit more bold. And where the Frankenstein part comes in, because this does become very important, because at that point you're just like, okay, well, it's just a zombie come to life and she's taking care of it. So where's the Frankenstein part of it? Well, there is a tanning bed out in their garage that her sister was trying to get her to use at the beginning of the movie, and it shorted out. So, she's like, oh my God, you're going to kill me. And she's like, no. Well, later on, when the corpse or the creature comes to life, you notice he's missing a limb or a hand. She finds him a hand and puts him in the machine, zap, 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 and he's got a hand. And he's all good now. So she realizes that this machine can kind of repair his body. So then it becomes this quest of like, ooh, what can we get for him? Because I think before the hand, it was actually an ear. That's how she discovered it. And she tried that or accidentally kind of got him in there and it fixed it. And she's like, oh, so now we need to get you a hand. Oh, now we need to get you this. What I won't go into great detail about this, but his quest for a penis becomes an interesting one at best. I'll just say that. And I don't really want to spoil too much in regards to how the story plays out, because one of the most interesting aspects to the story would be, as it was kind of going along, we did get to a point where we were just like, where's this going to go? You know what I mean? Because once things start to occur, you're just like, okay, well, how exactly are you just going to sweep this under the rug, or how are you going to clean this up? I mean, there's a lot of things going on here. How is this going to end? And I will say it ended in a way that I wasn't 100% sure that I would have expected. I liked it.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that's the ending they went with. And I give mad respect for the writer and director for sticking with that and being like, no, it needs to end this way. It's fair. And you'll see what I'm talking about when you do get to see it. One thing I will say, and I don't feel like this is a spoiler, but it just nagged the shit out of me. And if anybody who's listening knows the answer, I'm all ears. I would love to hear it. But when the movie starts and you hear about her mother, you hear about the home invasion thing, you have this sense that, oh, this will come back to play later, right? Never once in the story did they ever come back around to this, which, again, I think can be a good thing in some way, that it would just happen to be a freak accident, but the way they kind of built it up a little bit made it seem like it was very, very important. It is important to who Lisa is now because that's what kind of broke her, but they never caught the killer. They don't know who it was, and we never come back around to it. Again, I don't know if it was necessary to, but it just felt like like all the details you're putting into this, and immediately we're just like, oh yeah, the dad did it. That's where your head would go. And then you meet the guy and it was like, no fucking way this guy did that. So, I don't know. It felt like there should have been more there. And I don't want to knock points off because they didn't explain it, because I can also respect that you're saying it's not important.
Yeah.
Or at least not important beyond what it did to Lisa.
Yeah.
Like that, it happened. It sucks, but that's
because I mean, they could have gone multiple directions. The killer could have broken back into the house, or the monster could have fought the killer. You could have found out the evil stepmother was obsessed with the dad in high school or something and killed the mom. And I mean, it could have gone all kinds of places.
I mean, there were so many places, and we genuinely thought this will come back into play by the end. Never did. I was like, all right, well, huh. But again, I don't want to say that that's a mark against it. It's not a plot hole. It's really not. It just seems like a plot thread that was gonna go somewhere, and I think we're trained to think it's gonna go somewhere because typically a lot of these movies do that.
They just kind of skimmed over it.
I think that's, yeah. And again, I gotta respect it. It's a detail that seems important, but it's not. And perhaps that's just where I need to be in my mindset. But another thing I liked about the film is, I mean, obviously you can kind of get a vibe when you look at the poster for the film and everything like that. I wasn't 100% sure when it took place, so I actually had to look it up. It takes place in 1989, so you definitely get this very circa 80s vibe with the clothing. The music choices that they use are really solid. And I also give them a lot of credit for some of the nods and tips of the hat that they did to other horror movies or things from that time. Mm-hmm. Because you'll pick up on it, and little things that just kind of bring you joy, And sometimes they're just the most subtle little jokes that a lot of people would just not pick up on. One in particular that I remember, and I thought, it's got to be. Come on, that was too much, for it not to be a little wink and a nod, but still, it was good. Is the mother's name, or the stepmother's name, was Janet, and Lisa was with the creature in her room, and they heard her coming, and Lisa goes, "Damn it, Janet!" And I was like, you see what they did. And if you don't know what that's from, then I'm not going to tell you. You got to go look that shit up on your own.
Apparently there was some tributes to Robin Williams somewhere in there too, I guess. I don't know where, but I guess Zelda decided to do that.
There was one that I remember. Yeah. At the end, I think it was at the end. There may have been more, but this is really the only one that I remember seeing. There was a character, I can't remember who it was, but they were wearing the Mork suspenders.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, cool. So little subtle things like that, but that's the only one that I can remember. There may have been others that I just.
Now, speaking of Zelda Williams, this was her directorial debut. I heard a lot of mixed reviews on how people felt the film was directed. A lot of people said that they just did a lot of cutaways and a lot of stuff didn't make sense. Some people said that they thought she did a wonderful job. What are your thoughts on how her directing was?
I think she did fine. I don't know what they're talking about. Nothing felt out of place. Like, it felt very safe. You know, like, I don't mean that in a bad way. I think for a first-time film director, I think you need to kind of play it safe. You need to understand how it works. You need to figure out what works best for you, how to direct your actors and everything. I don't think anyone did a bad job. I don't think anything was directed poorly. Yeah. Again, I think it was just done in a safe way with a few, things here and there where you took a little risk, and I don't think they were bad risks. In fact, one of the scenes that I don't want to talk about, I think was very well crafted and how they did it. Now, trying to figure out how to say this without pissing some people off, because I don't want it to sound like I'm bitching. So, since there are deaths in the movie, no spoilers on who those people are, but the people who are killed, I respected that they made them out to be people that you'd be like, okay. You're not going to be upset that they died. You're just like, yeah, like one person that gets killed, and I'll say for the purpose of a hand. I'll just leave it at that. You meet this person, you're just like, yeah, they seem pretty cool, and then they do something, and you're like, oh, you're terrible. Oh, you're god-awful. Nope. I don't have any sympathy for you whatsoever. And I felt like it's a good thing that they did that, but at the same time, it almost seemed like a lot of the messaging here came off that guys are just terrible. And again, maybe I'm reading wrong into it. Like, I didn't personally feel attacked by it because, I'm not a rapist, but, I got this vibe like they were just saying that, men are kind of either dense or stupid or just trash. And I was like, all right, well, fair. If I'm wrong, hey, I didn't take offense to it. I'm not sitting over here being like, fucking woke bullshit, man. It's making me feel bad because I got a penis.
It's just funny because not too long ago we talked about how, last episode we talked about how some people in horror films, you don't care when they get killed.
Yeah, and they made it a good point to, I don't know, I like it when the people who die are trash, you know? Like, if you get those characters who just really mean a lot to you, which I don't want to go off on a tangent here or anything. I just want to make mention. Have you been watching X-Men 97?
I'm in a weird place with that show right now. And I think that, they make you care about the characters. And I don't know if you saw what one of the showrunners said.
Yeah, I've been keeping up.
But he basically said, and his words, not mine, I'm going to sort of sum it up how he put it. He said he wanted to make everybody feel nostalgic again, like they did when they watched it as kids. Before, all that nostalgia that we felt before September 11th, and then perform a September 11th on the show.
Yeah.
And
man, oh man.
He successfully ripped out everyone's hearts.
Yeah. Boy, I was like devastated by the end of that episode. I was like, did we just do this?
Yeah.
I think what hurt me more, man, it wasn't the actual act. It was just reaction.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say too much because there may be people listening who haven't watched it or caught up.
Oh, I'm going to say it right now. Spoiler right here, people. Magneto in the original series, I loved him. He was a great bad guy, but you could tell he was sympathetic, and they really played on him. To me, it felt like he didn't want the job, but he was doing it for Charles. And then at the end there, you finally realize that I feel like he's accepted that he is their leader. And when he's, defending and he looks down and goes, "Don't be afraid," I'm like, ugh. And then to have Artie there with him, because if you watch that original series, that kid was always, you felt bad for him. He was a kid, and he couldn't help how he looked. He was being vilified. But he was always that one Morlock that I was always like, I would take care of that kid in a heartbeat. He's not a bad kid.
And then the fact that him and Meg, oh damn,
And that
was bad.
The fact that he went out of his way to keep Rogue and keep Gambit away from everything. And he, the first time that he used his power to, secure them, I was like, oh hell. And then when she started to get loose and he was like, and just added more on, I was feeling it in my chest. I'm like, oh dear Lord, what is happening? And then Gambit even making the sacrifice he made, just...
I was on the edge of my seat that whole episode. Once shit popped off, like the moment I saw Cable, I was like, oh shit, what's happening? And
I will say this one though, Gambit went out like a fucking boss. I'm just gonna say that. Just the grin and telling, this Sentinel Abomination to remember the name, and then you just see the energy just go up through, and I saw this thing. I'll have to see if I can find it. It was a picture of Gambit and then Rex from Invincible, and it had check marks. It was comparing them, and then at the bottom it said something about it was something about sacrificing themselves for the cause or something, and I'm just like, man. But yeah, no, I don't know what direction they're gonna go now. I don't know. It's one of those things where you see a character die and you're just like, I really hope that this isn't forever. I hope this isn't, like, I hope like everything in me is like, please let them be alive. Please let them all be alive. But even at the end with her crying, saying that she can't feel him, that just...
Oh, that was...
And you see the tears falling from her. And for a second, you think maybe it's his... Like, that's the thing that's really misleading. And I know it's not, but the way her tears were falling on him, it almost seemed like he was crying, but that it's her.
Yeah.
Just, yeah. And you're like asking yourself questions like, who's going to be in charge now? What's going to happen? What direction are we going? What are they possibly going to do? It's just, it was heavy.
Yeah, it raised a lot of questions, for sure.
Yeah, people automatically think that just because something's animated, it can't pull at your heart, it can't be meaningful. Make them fucking watch that, because I've been seeing grown men, I've been seeing videos, especially on TikTok, I've been watching these full-grown ass adults going, everybody told me to film my reaction before and after I watched episode 5. So here's my before. I'm excited for it. And then they come on and they're just devastated. And they're like, why would they do that? Yeah. And, it's... I'll be honest. After that, I was like, I need to pick me up. So I know Calliope's a little bit older for it, so she probably doesn't watch it. But the younger kids here watch it. We're big Bluey watchers here at the house. Mm-hmm. Bluey's really popular. I think Bluey's one of the best shows on TV for kids. I will say that right now. It's got enough adult humor in it that it's great for adults too. So we watched some Bluey, and I fought the urge to sob in front of my child watching Bluey because X-Men destroyed me. So
I understand.
Yeah, it's...
And I brought that up for a reason, and I've completely forgotten why I brought it up. It had something to do with the way stories, heartstrings play with you, and I don't know. I forgot.
We went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
We did. That was like a deep one that just made me lose my train of thought. I should have wrote it down. Anyway, point being, I think Lisa Frankenstein was a fun little movie. I don't think it's... in any way offensive or abrasive in any way. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think if you're kind of in the mood for a little bit of horror, but maybe with a little bit of comedy and a touch of romance, I think it's
it's a horror rom-com.
Yeah. And I think it works for what it is, I would like to maybe see more of it if they wanted to do more with this character, this story. I don't know where you could go from there, but I wouldn't say no. And I know that I think it was a PG-13 movie, so, you can kind of keep it simple. It's not going to be overly... I don't think it needed to be gory, what I mean? Because based on the way the story is, and we're talking about Frankenstein. Frankenstein's really never been a gory story, despite the fact that you're piecing together a human corpse. Yeah. But... I think as a PG-13 film, I don't think it needed to be an R-rated film. I don't know what that would have benefited the movie at all. So I think it was just fine being PG-13.
It almost sounds like you could have watched it with like older kids If it didn't have maybe some jokes that it had in it, you could probably watch it with not like young kids, but with the kids.
I would say, yeah, there might be a limit somewhere on the age, and I'd say it probably leaned more toward the teenagers because some of the humor was a little bit more adult. So I'd probably leave little kids out of it. But,
yeah.
Like I said, overall, I think it was fine. You know, it's a fun little coming of age story that kind of works for what it is.
And I mean, we need more movies like that. And even if it's coming of age with horror, I mean, it's still a coming of age film. So
yeah,
nice.
But I think they all do great. And even, you know, I didn't even talk about Cole Sprouse. I had read that he actually took mime classes to try and prepare for this because he really doesn't speak. Everything is all in his face, and he plays it well. Just having to kind of grunt and just make those looks and faces and everything, he really sells it. So
that's hard.
I think
that's hard to do.
Exactly.
You know, being able to be expressive enough, just even if it's just in the eyes, or like people don't think about that. I know there's I cannot think of the movie. Tom Hanks is in it. He dies and he leaves some clues behind for his kid, and his kid meets his grandpa, I think. And the grandpa doesn't talk like at all. He has a board that he'll write stuff on occasionally, but he's so expressive in it. I think his father dies in the September 11th attacks in the movie.
I feel like I know what you're talking about, but I can't for the life of me pull it out of my head.
Extremely loud and incredibly close. That's the movie I'm thinking of.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm trying to think.
I've heard of that.
Max von Sydow.
Yeah.
He's like the grandfather figure in it, but he's very quiet, doesn't talk at all, but he's very expressive in it. And there's a lot of movies like that I prefer when the characters don't talk, because just being able to let someone know how you feel just by looking at them or making a facial expression. It's definitely something that's difficult. And I was going to ask you, I completely had forgotten to ask you if he had talked at all in the movie or anything, so.
I don't want to say he doesn't talk at all, but for a majority of the film, he is non-vocal, with the exception of like, you know, the occasional grunt or whatever. But no, I mean, most of the movie, he's fairly mute. So.
Well, kudos to him for that then.
Yeah, like I said, he did the mime classes or whatever and paid off, because I think had he not been as expressive as he was, I don't think it would have sold it as well. And you really have to sell your emotions. Yeah. So he did a fantastic job. So I recommend this movie. It's on Peacock right now. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. I think you could have worse ways to spend 90 minutes of your time, or a little over 90 minutes. Went by fairly fast. I fucking hate this chair right now. Anyway,
we're the real deal, people.
My chair is being a dick. Just fuck this chair. I need a new one. If you've got nothing else, I'm gonna wrap it up. Fuck this chair.
Go ahead.
Ramblers, have you seen Lisa Frankenstein? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Were you kind of somewhere in between? Let us know on social media at Horror Ramblings. You can just tag us over there, wherever you are. If you've got more to say in a tweet's just not going to cut it, send us an email at horrorramblings@gmail.com. You might need the first part. If you want to discuss horror with like-minded individuals, join our Facebook group or join us in our Ramblers room on Discord. And you can even find us on Instagram. You can find us on Patreon if you want to chuck a buck. Leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcasting app. That helps the show grow. You can follow our questions and polls over on Spotify, and you can follow all of this stuff and find it all at pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings. Links are in the show notes down below.
And remember, everybody, fuck that chair.
Yeah, fuck this chair. I'm gonna burn this bitch.
Stay spooky out there, guys.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even more.
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.